The DCU is getting Darkseid, but not in the way that most fans probably expect. I feel like people still think of Darkseid as a Thanos-style end boss, a cosmic invader who throws punches with Superman and the rest of the Justice League. But if the DCU really wants to surprise us, we know we're getting the Tom King, Mr. Miracle animated series. James and Peter, on the absolute tiny chance you're watching this video, please make this live action. I love this book so much. I hope they lead into what this book showed us about Darkseid. He's more terrifying than any army or any big fight. He's anti-life, he's despair, he's a god who wins not just by invading the earth, but by eroding hope itself. So in this video, I'm going to break down how Darkseid could enter the DCU, not as a warlord or a Thanos, but as a chilling presence, the kind that we saw in Mr. Miracle, and how that can possibly define storytelling in the DCU and superhero media. As always, I'm Phil from DC Chronicle. If you enjoy DC deep dives, we do it all here. Hit subscribe and let me know your thoughts on Darkseid in the comments below. So, I still feel like most fans picture Darkseid the way he was presented in the Snyder Cut, right? We've got the towering armies, the Omega beams, cosmic warlord hell-bent on conquering Earth and getting the anti-life equation. It's so spectacular how he's done in the Snyder Cut. It risks being reductive though if we go for that again, so it just turns him into another alien invader. Again, I think we've moved past that and we don't really want to see that kind of thing again. Tom King's Mr. Miracle is incredible, and it took a radically different approach. In that series, Darkseid rarely appears in full, at least not in the beginning, yet his shadow dominates every page. The presence isn't physical, it's psychological, a weight that presses down on Scott-Free as he tries to build a life on Earth with Barda, even as they're, raising a child and attempting to carve out some form of normalcy. The fear of having to confront Darkseid once again hangs over Scott, and that phrase, there's kind of a meme now, but I think it's so great, Darkseid is, it becomes kind of a mantra in the book, not just a statement of Darkseid's existence, but a declaration that he is inescapable, right? So his evil suffocates Scott without him even being there. He's eternal and just impossible to outrun. One thing that I love about this, and one thing that I hope they can do in the show, is how this ties directly back to Jack Kirby, who created Mr. Miracle and Darkseid and Thanos. Mr. Miracle is an escape artist, and that was born from Kirby's own feelings of entrapment in his career and his personal life. So Darkseid and the anti-life equation were conceived as this ultimate force of oppression, a way to rob humanity of its free will. In many ways, Darkseid isn't just a supervillain, he's an embodiment of what Jack Kirby was feeling at that time, a god of despair designed to crush individuality and crush hope as well. So again, if we can take that essence and put it into our Darkseid portrayal in the DCU, it just becomes more mythic than the parademons and the huge apocalyptic armies, right? Darkseid is more than just a villain. He's this idea, this symbol of despair that even the bravest heroes can't fully escape. If the DCU introduces Darkseid this way, he avoids Marvel comparisons entirely. Instead of the big punch-up, we get a slow burn, a menace, a god who shapes the DCU from the shadows. Imagine how much more powerful the full reveal would be if you feel his dread long before you ever even see him. And James Gunn and Peter Safran have been clear, right? They don't want to just copy the Marvel formula. That means we're unlikely to see a straightforward Infinity War, but with DC heroes type of adaptation, which is great. That's something, again, we've moved on from. Instead, the DCU has a chance to present Darkseid through that Mr. Miracle lens, not an alien threat, an existential one. In Mr. Miracle, Darkseid's evil isn't visible. It seeps into the cracks of life, the bureaucracy of war, the trauma of family, and the struggle to find hope in a world that's essentially broken. Scott-Free and Big Barda battle armies, but the real fight is against despair, and despair always wears Darkseid's face. At the height of the series, Darkseid doesn't demand planets or armies. He offers to surrender this eternal war between Apokolips and New Genesis, but only if Scott and Barda give him their newborn child, which is, when you think about it, it's so horrifying, right? A horrifying proposition because it makes his cruelty really personal, and it makes the stakes personal again rather than these kind of global universal stakes, and moves him away from being the cosmic final boss to a god that's willing to even just weaponize the very concept of having a family. That cruelty is echoed in the way we see Apokolips shape Scott and Barda from children. Both were tortured and indoctrinated as children by Granny Goodness, who's a sadistic general who's molded warriors through suffering. For Scott, an escape artist by both power and his identity, Darkseid represents the prison that he can never fully leave behind. In the comic, we really see this in the panels, and the gaps between the panels looking like prison bars. Translating that into the DCU makes him unlike any villain we've seen in films, not just a destroyer of worlds, a destroyer of hope, trust, and intimate bonds between people. When you think about it practically as well, this approach also frees up James Gunn from rushing into another Justice League team up. You know, the mess we got into before by rushing the Justice League. Instead of ending chapter 1 with Darkseid invading Earth, he can let the Fourth World characters, not just Granny Goodness and Darkseid, but Orion and the Female Furies, they can appear first. Through them, we can feel Darkseid's presence long before he's ever seen, and his mythology can become a slow burn threat. And thematically, it ties perfectly into gods and monsters. You know, he's a god, and also what he does is absolutely monstrous. So how do you take the Mr. Miracle interpretation and bring it into live action? So the key for me, again, is restraint. Don't throw Darkseid into a full-scale invasion yet. Introduce him through the whispers, the symbols, and the trauma that he leaves behind. So maybe Waller can reference him as a looming galactic threat. Maybe Lanterns detect his influence. Maybe Supergirl can stumble upon a world broken by Apokolips. Each touch point makes him bigger and doesn't rush him into this big bad role. Then, when the Justice League eventually forms, Darkseid is already set up as this mythic presence that they were born to oppose. And this way, in the Mr. Miracle series, you can have Darkseid not even appear till the very end, maybe. His presence is felt in Scott Free's nightmares, in Barda's exhaustion, in Orion's rage as he becomes more and more unstable. The comic constantly reminds us Darkseid is. That mantra alone becomes scarier than any CGI army. And then by the time we finally see him, we glimpse him, the audience already feels his weight, even if he's doing something simple like eating carrot sticks. Handled this way, Darkseid isn't just a boss fight, he's the shadow of despair. He hangs over the DCU, and if we do it right, fans will see Darkseid not as the final DCU boss, just the god who always wins. So we don't need Darkseid to conquer Earth tomorrow to dominate the DCU, he just needs to exist. If James Gunn leans into the Mr. Miracle version, the god of despair, instead of the warlord, Darkseid, he becomes unforgettable. But what do you think? Should the DCU lean into the mythical dread of Mr. Miracle, or do you want to see that full-scale invasion right away? Let me know in the comments, and if you're enjoying these deep dives into the DCU, subscribe for more breakdowns every week.